the reason why we are here is because, of course, Ale is a fantastic person and fantastic guest, and we would like to learn from you. And there is a side story to this. I'm working with clients who are looking for a job daily, who are looking for a job in Finland. And people started coming to me and they mentioned to me that, hey, there was this logical or personality test run by a company and I got rejected after that. So what's happening? What is wrong? What can I improve? Did I need to pretend to be someone else in this test? And questions like that kept coming. And recently, in one of the events, we met with you and saw that, oh, wow, this would be a fantastic topic to uncover and to talk more about. And because I know you, but everyone else does not, would you like to share your story? How did you even end up in Finland?
That's a big question, but yeah, I'm very pleased to be here, and thank you, Lidiia, for having me officially for the first time. And my name is Alessia, but everybody calls me Ale, just like the tarios, just like the offer sign in the stores in Finland, so just like that. And I come originally from the city of Milano in Italy, but I moved to Finland 5 years ago, and I should actually get the citizenship in November. So I'm super happy about that, and I'm very happy in this country. And yeah, I have studied a field that I'm really passionate about, which is transcultural psychology. It's super specific, but basically it means the story. I mean, the psychology of people who move from country to country and the generations in between. And of course, it's like, psychology has such a big field, and the cultural aspect is the one that I'm most interested with, even though of course it's based on the more traditional psychology that you can more relate to, like that everyone can relate to, so on the individual level. And then actually also thanks to the University of Illinois that I was mentioning before to France, I also got this special course in social psychology that complemented it very well. I'm just very passionate about the field. But then my work experience was also in sales, and I was pretty good at that. So basically, my professional goal was to try to make sense of both sides. So I didn't want to leave my educational background just, okay, I studied, that was cool, and that is gonna stay in the library of my mind, and that's it. And maybe try to do something with the more business side of me that I had. And I joined Vende, which is the current company that I work with. Vende is the owner of Tori and Oikotie, among other brands, but Tori and Oikotie in Finland are the most famous ones. And in the role of talent acquisition partner. So for me, it was a perfect field because it was kind of puzzling up all the parts that I'm not only good at, allegedly, like I hope so, I think so, but also that I like. So this combination is very important. And yeah, I moved to Finland because I always wanted to move to Finland. Since I was a little kid, I had the dream. Really, I don't know how to explain more than this. Like I liked the Rasmus, which is a Finnish band. Since I was a kid, maybe that participated to that. But in a nutshell, because I studied cultures and like my university was all about that. First, I went to the States, which I thought was my dreamland for a while. After living in the States for a little while, I understood all the, flows that every country has, but those kind of flows for me were enough basically to say, this is, for me, it's a little bit too much. So I moved back to Europe and started refreshing my love for Finland, which is completely opposite of the United States. So I'm closer to home. I can travel to Italy back and forth. So this is basically what leads me to Finland. So yeah, it's much more in line with my values as a country. So, and that's what makes me happy here. So I accept the whole package somehow. Yeah.
A small note and a small question regarding that. It's not related to the topic, but it's so interesting. You are an Italian citizen. Why did you decide to apply for a Finnish citizenship?
That's a good question. Well, I think it's a sensation of belonging. Like I'm just committed to stay here. I see my future years here. possibly my future family here. Italy is an amazing country. We could be the richest in the planet, but we are so behind with a lot of things. Especially if you want to start a family, can be very hard. The support system has to be your family or nothing more. So I don't know. I'm just Finland aligns very well to the things that make me happy as a person. The nature, the way that politics is lived by, and then the trust in the system. That also the darkness. I kept it in a philosophical way. Like you get the darkness knowing that the light will come again, and that's a good resilience exercise. I would say on a yearly basis. So it's like when you love a person, you love them for the good, but it's also the bad. Or like the challenging areas. And for me, Finland is like this. As long as I will keep it aligned, feel it aligned with myself, I will keep being here. And for now, I see that happening. So that's why I get the citizenship. Doesn't cost so much for a European. So and I can get both citizenship. I can keep both citizenships. So basically under a why not flag, knowing that I want to be here. Yes, I decided so.
Thank
And I
you
got
for
to study the language, of course, so that the language part went well, and I speak Finnish every day, so that of course it's part of that. So yeah.
Thank you. Coming back to the topic today, many might be wondering, even the ones who connected today, but what are these logical and personality tests all about, and why are they used in recruitment?
Yeah, I would start by saying that, of course, I have good knowledge of why they are using, especially in my company. Why are we using them, when, and so on. Hard to speak for every single company, so why the other companies use it. So I try my best to, with my also the connections that I have in the other companies, to come up with the complete answer that try to tackles it from all different angles. But in a nutshell, the tests that psychological tests or the logic test are tools that help us to reach a more objective decision in the hiring process. In the hiring when we hire, when we talk to people, even in our individual life, there are a lot of biases that enter, and you can train yourself very well to understand what bias you come from, and that's a never-ending exercise. But this kind of test bring a level of objectivity basically to the recruitment process, and they should be part of a more general assessment. So there is the test, there is the interview, there's the cultural interview, there's the technical interview, and all together should give the evaluation of that candidate basically. And the logic test, in a nutshell, it's a cognitive test. So most of the times there are these patterns like this. With these figures, triangles, or quadrilaterals, with the point that you have to understand the pattern. And that's a way for us to see how the person learning agility and learning adaptability is. Because what happens is that it can help us understand how fast a person is to with no prior experience, prior context. You have this situation, try to understand the pattern and try to understand what comes next. So that's called learning agility. So that's one side. And then the personality test should help us to understand how can this person work in a team. So we should not be interested in understanding the person as a whole. That's not our job. But the context should be, how is it likely that this person would work in our team, in our culture, and so on. So I say that, of course, it should be bring a level of objectivity more to the recruitment process. And another reason why they can be done, it's more strategical. Say that if you have more than 100 people applying, you decide to have the test early on in the process, it can help screening faster. So there's both these components to bring much more objectivity to the process, which is the part that I personally vote for, let's say. and the strategic part, which is a little bit more, but they are both a bit critical, but this can be the two main whys where we use them.
Thank you for explaining. And at what stage are you using these tests? Is it like for everyone who apply for your roles, or how does it work?
Yeah, this is a good question because well, in my company we use a tool called Alva Labs. You can Google it. It's alvalabs.com. It's funny because Alva Labs would suggest, like if you go on their our account manager, let's say, they suggest that we should use the test early on in the process to screen applications, whereas my team and I voted for something different, and we used the test only for some roles towards the end of the process. So I can say, okay, for my company and for my team, why did we decide so? It's because the screening part for us is not such big of a problem. Like, we screen every application still with our own eyes. AI can help us a little bit, but it's still they're kind of bad in doing that. So we want to have we want to be more in control at the beginning phase. So imagine that out of 100 applications, 20 are very good. I only have space for 5 slots to meet me, like the first interview is with me. That process, the test doesn't help. Like, we want to be very we have other evaluations at that point of the process. So imagine that you get with me, it's 5, and then later on in the process, we have 3 steps. At the last steps, there are 2 people remained, and that is where we perform the test on a regular basis, let's say. Or in most cases, it's like that. We do not perform it for every role, because we don't see, like, that's the point. Like, every recruiter, that's not gonna fix any problem. Like, we should have very much clear in our head why are we doing that, and also how do we place it in the process. Like, what's the importance that we will give to that. And by putting it at the end of the process, basically, if you're a candidate for us, before the last interview, you will have the tests, so that during the interview, which is already scheduled, is 100% sure that you will have the third round. But these test results will be discussed together. And it's a way that I really advocated for too, because the scenario that I wanted to avoid was exactly, we send the test and we reject the person, and the person has zero idea why. So I really hope that more recruiting teams, more talent acquisition teams will think about this. So they do not reject after a test, because that feels terrible. I've all been candidates in our life. I have been candidates too. Most likely, I will be candidate again in the future. Statistically, I would dislike that so much. Like, it makes you feel so powerless. So the way that we want to go is that we do the test, we see how it goes, and then we always give the person a possibility to talk more about the test. Also, because Alva Labs sends the test results to both, so that our candidates see exactly the same results that we see. And that it's a very big thing in Finland, is super appreciated, because and the Nordics in general, where transparency is so important. That's excellent. The person really sees the same material that I am seeing, so they come possibly prepared to have and first of all, I prepare them and I tell them we're gonna have a conversation about it. We can zoom in into some of the characteristics that we find important for this role. So more information is never a bad choice in my view. Like, it just informs the person, and it's the fair thing to do in my view. So that's how we use them. However, as I said, I know that many companies use them at the beginning when the number of application is super high. We do have some traineeships, some very junior positions in which we use them at the very beginning, but that's a super few minority of cases. And we really train ourselves in a way to give to give message before and after why is the test used. So it should never be a surprise, and the way that we evaluate the test should be clear for the candidate. So that's the best that we can do in those cases. So yeah.
You mentioned that it's used only for some roles.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about these roles? Is it, for example, leadership roles or something like that?
Yeah. There are quite many leadership roles, and some can be like complex roles, like that have to do with I mean, potentially every role could have it, because why not? Like you don't, or even in a sales or a more communicative based, customer faced roles, learning agility is important, and the personality test can be important. So on a theoretical level, for every role it could make sense, but then there are other things to take into considerations, because if we already have had a test in the process that consolidates, for example, a case scenario, for example, so a real work tryout basically in the interview, like you can say case scenario, that already gives actually a better evaluation and for the readiness of the person. So we don't want to overcrowd the person with test after test after test. That's not the way. But for some very complex roles like leadership roles, sometimes even for internal candidates, so for people that are moving with internal mobility in Vende, we do the tests, especially the personality test. I think that we are not bound to send both tests together. We do send the personality test way more often than the logical test. It gives us better conversations to have during the interview. And again, in all these leadership cases, an interview is always promised afterwards. So that's important. So I guess that here the thing is, the more complex the role is, the more sense it can make to have the test. But the other contra argument should always be also the candidate experience. Do we already have how many things have we already tested? Is it going to add value, or is it going to prove some biases that we already had? But this is how we are choosing, for example, in our team time after time.
How do you decide when to send a personality test and when to send a logical test?
Yeah, I had interesting conversations about this. To be honest with you, like to all my candidates as of now, I only sent to those roles that we have decided to have the test. I only sent a personality test as of now. The logic test, I haven't found yet an occasion where it would make a lot of sense to have it, because like a colleague, for example, my mentor at work, so a person with much more experience and much more years of HR experience than me, she was saying it could make sense to split the test and actually have the cognitive test, so the logical test at the very beginning, just as an entry point, and the personality test later on. So there are different strategies that you can use the tests for, which I agree. But the main reason why I have been sending the personality test more than the logical test is because the personality test can trigger conversations that if we were not having the test, it would have been different to dig into those aspects. Whereas the logical test or the cognitive abilities could be checked in case scenarios and work-related tasks during the recruitment process. So in my view, it's easier to replace the cognitive test. And I know that it brings a lot of anxiety to candidates, so we can get to this later, like the limits of the test, let's say. So for now, this is my experience with and also my team in general. We do send the personality test more than the logic test. We are starting to feel in it for very junior roles, like students right out of university, could actually bring some extra data point, the logic test, because we don't. This person is right out of university, so we need something, some actual data point more about that person, about their cognitive ability. Because if we give them a case scenario of their previous work experience, then it's something that we could miss. So, but yeah, we are at this point of our reasonings about it.
Thank you. Also, it came to my mind that I recently learned in Finland there is an integration program, and you can also apply for a language course that lasts for the whole year. And there, before even evaluating your language skills, they might give a cognitive test, a logical test. And if you get some specific results, you might be recommended to go to a fast group.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Based on results. Interesting. So it is used as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is used, and I'm sure that it can give excellent. Like, I'm not downgrading the logical test in any way. It just matters why are we using it? Why are we using it? So if we know that those abilities can be checked in other ways in our recruitment process, which is different, of course, than the selection process of the language integration course that I also took, by the way. So we didn't have the logic test back then, but I understand, as long as it makes sense and the why is very clear and it will be a transparent one, understood by candidates and communicated to candidates, I'm fine. You can solve me that anytime, basically.
You mentioned several
tell me
things.
that. Yeah.
When you interview candidates already, there might be some biases involved, and then you use the personality test to check it. If it's something that is true or that's something that you like, of course, we have all kinds of thoughts about different people. And also, imagine you got results of a test. What will you pay attention to?
Yeah.
What stands out to you in a personality test?
Yeah, a very good question. So the personality test that we use with Alva, it's very nice. Like, it's very good on the eye, and as I said, the results are shared to both the candidates and us, the recruiting team. It's a very long page, so it's like 5 pages, because as many other personality tests is based on the big 5 personality traits. It's a most research framework in the psychology, which focus on 5 personality traits, which is openness. Openness can be refer to change adaptation, for example, change resilience that enters into openness. Conscientiousness, which means basically work ethic, we can say in a nutshell. Emotional stability. So again, like a bit close to change orientation. Stress, like how do you handle stress and so on. Agreeableness, which is your ability which can give insights on how the person is as a team member. So, am I missing something? Conscientiousness, openness, agreeableness, emotional stability, and extraversion, which extraversion, of course, is not, for example, important for all roles. For some customer-facing roles, extraversions, though, it's important. So basically, we pick 3 to 4 facets, like specific characteristics that are relevant for that role specifically, and we zoom into that. This is especially my strategy. So if I get a test results and I see that it's a sales role, so I'm just saying sales roles because this is actually the last case that I have used the test for. And for us, stress management was important. So we went, we looked for stress management, which was one facet represented into in emotional stability. I saw what the result was, and the results are basically on a scale from 1 to 10. This person can score whatever in here. Average, like the majority of people score from 5 to 6. So who goes beyond this 5 to 6 tends to have a bit of like just something to have a good conversation about. But imagine that this person scores 7 on stress management. then my first question is always, first of all, I let you understand, okay, we are not looking into everything. We are going to zoom in into 3 characteristics that are specifically important for this role. One is stress management. You can see this on page 5. You see that you scored 7. My first question is, how do you see yourself in that result? Was that a surprise? And then I see how, what the person shares and so on. And then the extra step that is important to have an interview about is that my way to cross-check basically that is to ask you behavioral questions, the behavior or situational questions. And these kind of questions are those that basically start with, can you give me an example of your past where, I don't know, where you had a stressful situation, what was the problem, what did you do? And so basically we try to create the concreteness of that answer by using example of this person from the past. And I do this same zoom in into the other 2 or 4 facets that we have selected. The hope is that whatever the result is made more concrete by the example that this person brings. And also another thing that I'm very careful, that I pay a lot of attention to, is the self-awareness of the person. Because a 7 is not better than a 3 if the person is completely clueless about that. And so even if your score is a little bit on the lower side, let's say 5 or 4, then that is not the problem, because the test is never the Bible. I am interested in knowing how have you recognized that you were stressed in the past? What made you stressed? What did you do to make it better for you, make it better for your team? So the goal is to have an in-depth conversation about that, in which you show me that you own the result, or maybe you contest that. But if you contest that, then you bring some examples from the past in which you show capable of self-reflect on your past, self-reflect on some growth area possibly, or how strategic you have been, how critical you have been about this thing in the past. So that for me is the best possible scenario when I use the test. So you see that the test itself is not that much of a deal breaker. Like, it's actually not. I am interested in how you elaborate on the test. Not all the tests, but only on those facets that we are interested about. Otherwise, it would be a 1 week long conversation. So.
Many people might be thinking, okay, if I interview for a sales role, I know what is important in a sales role. For example, I'm expected to be more extroverted. I'm expected to be handling stress better, to be persistent in my work. So I will answer the questions in a way that will make me look like a cool candidate. So the question is, can I fake the results, or can I specifically prepare for that?
Yeah, I knew that this question was coming. I was ready, but so I can answer from what the test provider would answer, like what, let's say, science/the test providers would say. So Alva Labs would say that the personality is actually hard to fake somehow. That the questions Alva Labs runs on sentences that you have to score from 1 to 5 on how much you agree on them. So, for example, a test sentence on Alva can be, I don't know, I like talking to strangers. I'm going random. And you have to score this question from 1 to 5 according to how much is this. And the test adapts the future questions on your previous answer. So it's an adaptive test. And it's very hard that people get the same questions even. So it's hard to, from one side, it's kind of hard to fake. And either if you were faking it or you were honest about the test, the result should, from, as I say, that test provider point of view, still look similar. There shouldn't be too many differences somehow. But what I can share from my side, or like from my experience, one of the most interesting conversations that I had with a candidate, which was actually a candidate of these sales roles, at the end of our interview, I always ask, well, do you have any questions for me? Like, is there anything else on your mind? And he asked me, he said, like, when you sent me the test, like, was I supposed to answer you as like the me at work, basically what would be good for this role, or would you want me to answer as a real me? And I remember that I asked back, well, what did you choose? And he said that he chose to be his true self. And I said to him, like, I can only always trust that the people answer as authentically as possible, as long as it's consistent. Like I completely understand that we have different personalities at work. I might say that strategically, how can I say? As long as it's true, that then it's fine by me. Like if you choose to answer the test on the point of view of me at work, okay, if it's true, then keep it consistent, because then I'm going to ask you questions about, can you give me an example of that? And if I see that that's a big contrast, like a big difference, then that becomes a sort of red flag. So my and also, like, if you fake it too much, and maybe there's not even another interview because that company or that recruiting team doesn't assure the how do you say that, the interview afterwards or whatever, it will come up because like the all onboarding will be based also on your results. So I know that it's very tricky because you want to get the job, and so it's very tempting to just go over the board with the way that you use the test. But my honest how do you say, tip is to make it authentic for yourself, either if it's yourself outside of work or yourself at work. I don't care so much about it. You can choose to make it coherent to yourself at work. That's what I would do, honestly. It depends on the questions, but it would make sense, as long as it's you. So and then we'll have a conversation about that. And also, if I can say, sorry, go, Lidia.
Please go on.
Now, I was also thinking of the limit of the logic. If this is the limit or one risk somehow of the psychological test, the big limit of the logic test that I proven on my own skin, let's say, is that when we first got Alva, I could do the test on myself to see what the candidate would go through, and that helped me so much to talk about the test to candidates and so on. So I tried the test on my own, also the logic test, and I tried it. So I was in the comfort of my room, not competing for a role. I was just trying it. And I got nervous. Like, I know that it was like all kind of a new thing for me. And I ended up scoring 6, so 6 out of 10, which is in the average group. So because I said like 5 to 6 is where most people score. And I was like, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I was like, okay, maybe I have room for improvement. And I remember that it's time based. So I remember thinking, wow, if I got a bit stressed about it and I'm not even a candidate competing for a role, I imagine what a candidate could feel like if it's in the context of a recruitment process. And then plus for me, this kind of test was a bit new. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a difference between the Nordics or Italy, where I studied my master degree and everything, but we'd never had this kind of test before. So my mind was kind of new to that thing. So I was literally improvising my learning agility like right in that moment. But then I took the test again 2 weeks after. So the questions, of course, were not the same, because also the logic test is adaptive. So it changes the questions according to your answers to the previous question. But I was already coming more ready. Like, I knew that there was a time. I knew of. I kind of understood the rhythm, the trigger, the patterns. Okay, so I have to identify patterns. Let's go with that. Blah blah blah. I got 8 out of 10 the second time that I tried. And so for me, that became a very important learning. I said, okay, look at this. Like, it only took me one time when I tried this test and I improved my score by 2 points. That's a lot. That could actually make a difference for a candidate when they are competing. That's a big gap. So one of my strongest recommendations for the logic test is to try to practice it at home. There are tons of ways to do it online. I can also say, don't use AI. Like I tried the logic test with my colleagues, with my tech geek colleagues, which I love, and they tried. Like I told them, use all the AI you want. I want to see if AI can give good answers about that. And AI actually was not scoring well. Like they scored 3 to 4, or maybe like 4. So really, at the moment, not the best, or at least not what we tried. So my best advice is try to get familiarized with this. Logic games like patterns and exercises online, because I didn't, and that somehow penalized me by 2 points the first time that I tried. So they are also fun. Like, I mean, you can actually feel your mind working. So, but yet, please try before, and please ask the recruiter if there's any thing that they should know, that you should know beforehand, like how much time do you have to answer every single question. So please don't shy away to ask the recruiter or the talent acquisition person what to expect from each test, like the personality tests, and will the test results be shared, is there anything I should keep in mind, or any best practice, anything. So don't shy away from these questions. If they are a good talent acquisition person with the mind and heart in the right place, they will answer you. And if they don't, or if it gets really shady, then ask yourself if that's even the company you want to work for, honestly. So yeah.
You answered questions that I had in my mind, several of them. But just speaking, thank you a lot. I'm moving to questions from a chat. And the first one here is, does this test reflect, I'm just reading, with the real
Yeah.
world performance of the candidate in terms of KPI?
Oh,
So if
okay.
I
That's
understood it correctly.
yeah.
So how is it
So
related?
yeah, so how actually what's after the person starts, if it was coherent with is their performance coherent or expected given the test results. I have to say that I would like for me to have a better answer to this, because I would really like to see internally, like in our company, how, like, to follow up about that. I can say that the combination of all the criteria that we have used in the recruitment process, which is not only the tests, again, has given pretty good and solid performers. Then, of course, life is unpredictable, and there are many reasons why a person could, leave in a short period of time. But overall, I would say yes, and also the test provider. So not me as the expert, as a talent acquisition professional, but the test provider, Alva Labs, would say yes. Like there is a consistency, let's say, in the performance, also with the learning agility part and the learning adaptability when there are new things moving. So that can help. But this is a good reminder also for us internally to maybe track even better how the person actually, after they start, if they are coherent with the test results that we got. But overall, I would say yes, there tends to be a continuation of the results together. And again, I'm going to say not only the test, but all the evaluation criteria that we had in the process.
Is it a plus to share a test result in the job application or LinkedIn? Like, for example, Big Five, 16 Personalities, or DISC?
As I say before, extra information, I'm never opposed to have extra information somehow. So as long as you think it makes sense, it's okay. Like you shouldn't come from a place of like, I'm gonna share everything because I'm afraid that this person will not understand me. Like you should share it and frame it in a way of like, I don't know, if you're applying to a sales role, because it's our favorite example today, and you think it makes sense to you create a narrative in your cover letter or your message, whatever you're sending me, that is kind of consistent, and say, in the 16 personality test, protagonist, and that's what I am actually in the 16 personality tests. At work, fun enough, like I see this this trait in my work performance, here, and there. So you have to create. Don't just send like blunt information like that. I appreciate a lot when there's a strategy behind, and that is first a question for you. So like, does it make sense to include that here? Why does it make sense? And I have to transfer this why it makes sense to the recruiter so that they understand why I put it here.
Love your answer a lot. What would be your top advice for candidates taking their first logical or personality test for a job in Finland?
Yeah. About the logical test, try to have some tests online before, if it's possible. So let it not be the first time ever that you see a logical test. Please, I speak from my own experience, as I said. So I really recommend you to try online the test. Don't hesitate to ask the recruiter who is the test provider. I mean, I would ask it just to understand what is it. That is part of being transparent. And I always share, for example, in my untriggered by the candidate, I do say what is the test provider is Alva Labs, and so for you, so that you can train a little bit online for that and prepare your mind of what are you actually entering into somehow. So that's my advice, I would say. And then for the personality test instead, as I said before, like be truthful to yourself, and try to know yourself, take your time, like that, and trust the fact that whatever result it will be given is not to be seen as the Bible, like it would be impossible. So that I don't. It's just, personality is a very complex and very delicate topic. So my best advice is make it authentic for yourself, because if it's not authentic, it will run back to you negatively. Um, so be in touch with yourself and be authentic. Yes.
Why do some personality tests give more option to answer a question rather than using agree, disagree, or neutral?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Some personality tests give you more options to answer a question instead of just asking agree, disagree, neutral.
Okay. I I don't know, honestly, because I never even had the test. Like when I was a candidate, I never been in the situation in which the test was giving me a different kind of answering system than rate it from 1 to 5 or agree, disagree, neutral, and so on. So honestly, I'm not sure if they are asking you to write something. I don't think that's. I don't know. Sorry, it's a bit hard to answer because I don't have empirical experience about that, and I don't know how it is used. But yeah, then, if I were in that situation as a candidate, I would then ask the recruiter. So even afterwards or before the test, saying what kind of questions will there be, and if the answer is different than rating from 1 to 5 or whatever. Okay, so how will it be used somehow? Um, so yeah, I'm sorry if I don't have a more precise answer about this.
I will mute someone who's been talking. Are there any personal assessment tests available for free online for practice which you would recommend?
The Well, I mean, there are many personality tests online. I can think of the 16 personality tests. There's also another personality test that I have it in my desktop. I have to look for it. Here, let me see, what was the provider? Via, like I can put it in the comments. Via or via, depends on which part of the world you're from, like via personality tests. these are good, and the 16 personality test, which is very well known. I think it's really interesting. It can give you a lot of grounding. I remember that I don't want to say nailed because I don't want to brag, but one of my first, actually the interview that I got to have this job that I had 4 years, almost 4 years ago. I remember that I did the personality test, the 16 personality test right before my interview with the recruiter, just to get more in touch with myself again, and like to really see what can I say about myself that makes sense for this role, and to just become more aware of yourself. So I can say the 16 personality test and this VIA test can be really good for you to create a framework for yourself, and that can help you rating those questions, but especially in the personality test, but especially just to really become more aware of yourself in the whole interview process. So I really suggest that.
I love the 16 personality test a lot. I've been taking it in all states of mind, in different
Yeah.
circumstances, and it always gives the same result,
Yeah,
which also
also for me.
includes strengths and also areas for, growth. And it's so
Yeah.
true. Like it's shocking me all the time. I pay attention to it. And what about logical tests? Are there any resources that people can use to prepare for logical tests?
Yeah, I don't have in mind any specific, how do you say, any specific test bank, because there are many. So it's difficult for me to name one, because there are different. And I also think that nowadays you can train ChatGPT, like you can instruct it to give you some tests, and actually also to you can ask ChatGPT to give you the test, you give your answer, and then he will rate it, and he will give you the explanation of why. So actually, if it was me, I would try to use ChatGPT a bit more to train myself for those kind of tests, because it can help me understanding some strategies, or like why did I did this wrong, for example. So there's a lot of tools online. I might think that ChatGPT at the moment is really good to actually do that, or I don't know, AI in general. I use ChatGPT a lot, so I would say that. But there are really many resources online for that.
Is it okay to ask a feedback for such kind of tests? I felt so frustrated after rejection due to these tests without any feedback.
Yeah. And I'm really sorry that that happened. I don't think that it should happen. It's it's a bit bad that it happened. I think that you can, of course, I would always try to ask for the feedback, even if it leads to not having an answer. But you can ask, and so yeah, my answer is yes, always ask for the feedback. I would trust and hope that the recruiting team on the other side has prepared for the scenario in which people will reach out for answers. So either you prepare a very good rejection message with the feedback already in it somehow. It can also be a like there's a difference if I send you the test, and after the test I write the very general and rejection email of like we chose better other candidates, so hope to see you again next time around. So this is one option. The other option is, unfortunately, we're moving on with the other candidates. The areas that we were looking for were these four, and so we took into considerations these areas and the people that were closer to this to these results for us. And this can still be a message somehow the same for many. And I'm saying this because as a talent acquisition myself, it's hard to send rejection emails all the time personalized with feedback. And every time that a candidate asks for a feedback, it's hard to give them. So the better the rejection email is, in terms of like we have to have it clear why these people that we selected were chosen, then we shouldn't have any problem explaining why chosen. And so at least it would start giving some feedback to you also personally. because the reason why them are moving on should be clear. They are transparent. So at least that would be a step forward. So yeah, I hope that culturally, like as talent acquisitions in Finland, maybe we move more towards this kind of rejection emails and or like feedback emails, whatever we want to say. So, but it's important that the person should know a little bit, at least, what was important in this test, and I think that it's in our responsibility and completely in our control to in our control as TAs to give this kind of answers.
I took the 16 personality test and it categorizes me as an architect. Would this indicate the type of profession where I would excel?
I don't know. The question is for you, I guess. The 16 personality test, you used the term categorized. It's a very strong term. Like, remember that whatever test we do, it's not giving us the Bible of what we are. Even the 16 personality test for myself, who gave me protagonists, for most part was something that spoke to me, and I thought that it was aligned. Other parts were a bit like, okay, I'm surprised it's there, and that's it. So, like, remember that the personality test should not, as I said many times, it's not the Bible. It can give you a better insight, and then after you see the results, you should ask yourself, okay, how does it speak to me? Like, is it in line with what I was thinking? So can I build a profession out of this? There's a very nice, very useful psychological tool, we can say. It is a sort of coaching, a personality tool. It's called the Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept. I can write it in the chat too. If
I have
you
a book of it in front of me, but it doesn't work. Okay, it did show.
And now it shows. Exactly. I have that book too. Yes, Ikigai, which basically asks you to combine what you like to do, what you're good at, what does the world need, and what does the world need, and basically how can you make a profit somehow out of it? Like, how is it useful in work life somehow? And the personality test results, whatever that test comes from, wherever those results come from, can become a material to start filling in this vision that we have for ourselves. So this can be my answer to you. So really zoom out and try to put more things in perspective. And but also, please, you can try to use the Ikigai method. That personally, it helped me tremendously, because I was coming from like different backgrounds. I was feeling maybe I messed up everything. I should have gone sales. I should have been a psychologist. So it's super difficult sometimes to make sense of all our parts. And that Ikigai system really helped me a lot. So big fan. I definitely recommend it.
We also use this, I use it as an exercise for career coaching, and there are
Yeah.
many questions to answer, and one of them is a 16 personality test. And then I recommend to put all this data in the
Yeah.
AI and then say, act as my career coach, ask me questions additionally to that one by one, and help me figure out what are the best professions for me in Finland, considering the current job
Yeah.
market. Crazy,
This
crazy
is an
talk.
excellent. This is really excellent, because it's true. Like, we can feed AI and basically instruct AI to ask us questions to help us really get to our vision or our compass. Like, I like the word compass, because it's the tool that you go back to when you need a bit of direction. And the Ikigai system for me has built my compass. And one of a big friend of mine, her name is Vera, and she's a career coach. She's a coach, and she would definitely she uses Ikigai system and these tools to help a person to connect all the pieces that they are, and actually find an answer that feels authentic for themselves. So it's I can say scientifically proved. It really works. So yeah.
Ale, thank you so much for everything you shared with us. It was a topic like a little bit like a black box for me, but now so many things became clear thanks to you. And we just wish you to have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for the questions and for being here. This was also my first time, so I hope that all my message was came across as well as possible. And happy to connect on LinkedIn. If you connect on LinkedIn, please send me also a message, because otherwise I have no idea who you are and I received too many requests. So, but thank you anyway. Thank you, Lidiia, a lot. Hope to see you live.